Have you ever met someone who just lets things go? Someone wrongs them, betrays them, disappoints them deeply, and somehow, within days or even hours, they have moved on. No bitterness, no obsessive replaying of the moment, no quiet resentment hiding behind a smile. And you find yourself wondering, are they just weak? Are they in denial? Or is something else happening inside them that the rest of us are completely missing? Here is what I have found. People who forgive easily are not naive. They are not pushovers. They are not pretending the hurt did not happen. They are simply operating from a completely different psychological framework. And once you understand that framework, forgiveness stops looking like a personality trait you either have or you do not. It starts looking like a skill, one that can be learned, practiced, and eventually internalized. Let us start with what most people get completely wrong about forgiveness. Most people believe forgiveness is something you give to someone else, a gift, a pardon. You wronged me, I forgive you, now we're even. That is not what forgiveness actually is. That understanding keeps millions of people trapped, waiting for the other person to deserve their peace before they allow themselves to have it. People who forgive easily have figured out something that takes most of us years, sometimes decades, to understand. Forgiveness is not for the person who hurt you. It is for you. When you hold a grudge, when you replay the offense, when you carry the weight of what someone did to you, who is suffering? They have moved on. They are sleeping fine. They are living their life, and you're lying awake at 2 a.m. having arguments in your head with someone who is not even in the room. Resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to get sick. There's real neuroscience behind this. When you hold on to anger and resentment, your brain keeps the stress response activated. Cortisol stays elevated. Your nervous system stays in a low-level state of threat. Over time, this contributes to anxiety, poor sleep, high blood pressure, even weakened immunity. Unforgiveness is not just emotionally painful, it is physically expensive. People who forgive easily have internalized one radical idea. Prolonged suffering is optional. Now here's where it gets psychologically fascinating. People who forgive easily tend to have what psychologists call a high tolerance for human imperfection. They hold a worldview that says people are complicated, people are wounded, people make terrible decisions from places of fear, insecurity, and pain. That does not excuse the behavior, but it explains it. And explanation creates just enough distance between the action and the identity of the person who did it. They separate the behavior from the human being. This is not weakness. This is one of the most cognitively sophisticated things a person can do. Research in cognitive psychology shows that people who can depersonalize offenses, who can look at what happened and ask, what was going on in that person, rather than, why did they do this to me, experience dramatically lower levels of prolonged emotional distress after conflict. The shift from why me to what happened to them changes everything. Now, let's talk about identity, because this is where it gets really interesting. People who forgive easily do not just have a habit of forgiving, they have built an identity around it. Somewhere along the way, through repeated experience, they decided, I am not someone who carries things. I am not someone who lets the past own my present. And once that becomes part of who you believe you are, letting go becomes the natural response. Holding on starts to feel foreign. Behavioral psychology is clear on this. We always act in alignment with our self-concept. So if you believe you are someone who holds grudges, someone who never forgets, that belief will generate behavior that confirms it every single time. But if you begin to shift that identity, even slightly, even through small deliberate acts of releasing resentment, you begin to build evidence for a different story about who you are. Here is something that truly changes lives once people understand it. Forgiving someone does not mean the relationship continues. It does not mean what happened was acceptable. It does not mean you lower your boundaries or open yourself to further harm. You can forgive someone completely and still never speak to them again. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same thing. This distinction is what allows people who forgive easily to actually do it. They're not signing a contract. They're simply choosing to put down a weight that was never theirs to carry in the first place. So, how do you actually build this? Start with something small. Not the person who shattered your trust, not the deepest wound. Start with a minor irritation. A friend who canceled plans. A colleague who took credit for something. Practice the act of consciously releasing it. Say it out loud if you need to. That happened. It hurt. And I'm choosing not to carry it forward. Do that enough times and your nervous system begins to learn that releasing is safe.